for those of you who have read The Wedding Dress, it's not necessarily a sequel, but it's going to kind of be in the collection of. And it's
Mm-hmm.
a slip time story. So it's set in 1940s, late 1940s, early 1950s, and then in contemporary timeline. So we get a fun look at the late 40s, early 50s in the South. And it's about a wedding chapel in which there have been no weddings. So I just really,
Mm-hmm.
when I came up with the idea, I thought, well, a wedding chapel with a bunch of weddings would be what we would expect. So what
Exactly.
can we not expect? And so it's really taking a look at why the chapel was built, why it had no weddings,
Mm-hmm.
who are the people involved in it, and it's kind of looking at, does true love ever die? Does true love ever go away? Or how long does it last? And can it ever be requited if it's unrequited? So, and then the
Mm-hmm.
contemporary couple is kind of dealing with an elopement and did we do the right thing? And they're 6 months in and all of their junk is coming to the surface. It's about sibling jealousy and sibling rivalry. It's about the girls in the 40s. They're sisters, and they were orphaned during
Right.
World War II in England. And
Mm-hmm.
when they had that totally different view of how they look at the war. One of them is,
Yeah.
"Hey, we survived, we're good," and the other one was like, "Hey, it robbed us of everything." And it takes a look really at bitterness and how it can seed into our lives, and we really aren't looking at life right when you become bitter and jealous. And so we're looking
Mm-hmm.
at the sibling rivalry and how deep it goes and how much it destroys lives.
Yeah. And so, when you started writing The Wedding Chapel, were there any books or films in particular that inspired this story, or was it totally from your imagination?
It from my imagination, and there is a movie called The Wedding Chapel. This happens to me. I came up with the idea for the wedding dress, and the Hallmark movie wasn't out. And I'm not kidding. Like 2 months later, there it was everywhere, right? So I'm like
Oh my
googling,
gosh.
is there
Mm,
a
there
wedding
it is.
chapel movie? And there was, and I watched it, but it was really kind of like the community chapel. I don't know why they called it the wedding chapel. It was a really cute movie, really well done, but it really wasn't about weddings. It was about community. So but
Yeah.
so that didn't help me too much. Actually, I was talking to my editor, actually my publisher, and I was on
Mhm.
vacation in Tennessee, and I was driving down the side of the mountain to get a phone signal so I could talk to her. And I drove by this wedding chapel, it said Chapel in the Glen, and I thought, huh, the wedding chapel. And I get on the phone with her, and we were discussing like next ideas, and were we going to try to write more royal wedding books or not? And all of a sudden, I go, well, what about the
Yeah.
wedding chapel? And she's like, the wedding chapel, I love it. And by the time I got back to my cabin and checked email, which I could check, everybody was on
Yeah.
board. The entire team was on board. We love it. And I go, you don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is, but we just had that ping and that ring about it. So that's when I
Mhm.
started turning it upside down. Originally, I thought, let's look at all the women who got married there and take a look at that. We wanted to go back to the slip time. I love writing in the dual timelines, historical and
Yeah.
contemporary. That's really fun for me. I feel like that's something that I can do pretty well. So I said, nah, I think there have been no weddings. And then that's what started the journey of figuring out what am I going to do?
Awesome.